Portland, Oregon's been dealing with violent unrest for almost a year now, and the mayor says he's had enough. On Friday, Mayor Ted Wheeler said it was time to take back the city from the anarchists and called on the public to stand up to the mob.
Many courageous BLM leaders have already stepped forward to denounce these self-described anarchists. If they can, we all should. We must stand together as a community against this ongoing criminal intimidation and violence.
Joining us now is someone very familiar with the Portland protest, independent journalist and friend of the program, Nancy Rommelmann. Nancy, we point it out every time, but we both used to live there. So when I saw this headline in the Wall Street Journal, I knew I wanted to get you back on. It says Mayor Ted Wheeler has an epiphany about riots and destruction. He was marching with protesters last year. Nancy, what changed?
Boy, that's the slowest epiphany I've ever heard of. What changed? What changed was that after Biden was elected, I think that Ted Wheeler and the governor and maybe some other people in the state had this idea that, you know, the people that were protesting violently were just going to calm down. Well, this was absurd. They were not particularly, they were living in their own particular world. It's a post-political world. They're not Biden people. They have a lot of energy from this. They have a lot of identity from this. And why are they going to stop when there's been no consequences? Well, now Wheeler wants there to be some consequences. But his idea of doing it by asking the public to unmask people.
What does that mean, by the way?
What does that mean? Exactly. Does that mean physically, pull the mask off someone? I mean, he didn't exactly say it that way, though he did say unmask. He said, I unmask, arrest, and prosecute. Well, the unmasking part runs up to a whole bunch of First Amendment issues, right? And it also smacks of vigilantism. I mean, is that what we want? Do we want, other members of the public going up and ripping the masks off people? In terms of arresting, yeah, you should be arresting people for violent protesting, and you definitely should be prosecuting them, which the DA who came into office last August has declined to do if it's protest related. So they don't have any reason to stop. And I understand that the city wants them to stop. Mm-hmm. But the way to do it is to not ask the public to go out and start doing the job of what should be the mayor's job and law enforcement's job.
What about this police tactic called kettling, Nancy, where they basically surround and then contain a crowd and then make arrests? That's what they are also talking about doing, correct?
Yes, and I've been in the middle. I've been kettled because I was out a lot of last year with the protesters and watching things. I mean, I understand people are very upset about this, though I'm not exactly sure why. I mean, do you want people? If people are committing violent acts, they will be arrested by the police, or that's sort of the system we have set up. I understand people want to dismantle that. So, what would you like the police to do? Ask your permission to arrest you? Would you like to be, something more violent than kettling? Kettling is a way to round people up. That's how it's done.
Yeah, Portland, Nancy, as you and I both know, this has been part of the culture for a long, long time. And I guess based on what we're seeing, what we have seen over the last year, what the mayor wants to do now, is there any chance the culture there, or at least the violence, calms down?
That's very interesting you asked that. I'm reading a book, and I stuck it here so I could show your viewers. It's a new book called Tonight We Bombed at the U.S. Capitol, The Explosive Story of M19, America's First Female Terrorist Group. And it really looks into a lot of the domestic terrorists group, whether underground and others in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and people who either don't remember or weren't born. We had a lot of violent terrorism back then, a lot of bombing. We had a lot of police officers killed. And I have to say, the ideology that it seems is animating the people on the ground in Portland is very similar to the ideologies that were animating some of these groups. Now, what happens? Will these things sort of die down and calm down? It could be, but right now, the medium in Portland is not allowing that to happen. It's allowing that to escalate. And I just don't think these things die on their own. I think Wheeler made some wrong moves at the beginning. He was like, the enemy of the enemy is my friend. He was so against Trump that he was going to kind of side with the activists. Well, they're not siding with him now.
Well, we will continue to hope for the best there in
Yes.
Portland. It's always good to see you. Nancy Rommelmann, we'll talk with you soon.
Thanks for having me again. Bye.